More service, thermal actual, we have target in sight. Copy, target's in sight, you're cleared hot.
Going fast, it's what they do. In fact, about 500 knots fast. That's approximately 575 miles per hour. To put that into perspective, you might be used to going around 65 miles per hour down the highway in your car. The fastest car in the world is 273 miles per hour, which equals approximately 238 knots. Most people couldn't dream of going that fast, but for fighter pilots, it's reality.
I think that being probably the biggest challenge in flying F-18s is just the speed the aircraft moves. You're covering over 8 miles a minute going that fast, so you just have to be thinking so far out in front of the jet. And not only are you just flying the jet, but you're trying to operate the systems to accomplish your mission, which ultimately is supporting the Marines on the ground. We do our low altitude training at about 300 feet above the ground, so when you're going 500 knots that close to the ground is just whizzing by. It's a cool feeling. When you're going that fast up higher, you don't really have the sensation. It's kind of like flying a commercial airliner. You know, you look out the window, you can't tell you're going 400 or 500 knots, but you know, you look inside your instruments, you're like, damn, I'm hauling.
Throughout history, people like Medal of Honor recipient Pappy Boyington and movies like Top Gun have demonstrated what it takes to be a fighter pilot.
If you go back to World War I, you had little airplanes that flew really slow. You started off with guys that were just taking pictures of the battlefield, so stuff that we do with satellites now, if you kind of think about it that way. So those things evolved to pilots bringing handguns and shooting each other with rifles and pistols to finally mounting a machine gun on the top of those airplanes. Fast forward to World War II, you got high-powered, prop-driven airplanes that are pretty soon going to transform into the first jets in that time frame. So now you have guys going out, dropping bombs on bad guys, and then maybe doing a lot of aerial combat. Then you take all that and you think about Navy aviation specifically, and you put those airplanes on a boat, and now you have a country that's got worldwide reach, and there's nothing anybody else can do about it. And to today's age, where the jets are going so fast, the results can just be catastrophic for our enemies.
These Marines fly the F-18 Hornet, an aircraft that has a giant arsenal.
The Hornet can carry a ton of ordnance, from 500-pound bombs, 1,000-pound bombs, 2,000-pound bombs, laser-guided bombs. So, I mean, you can do a real precise strike and support those guys, or you can drop what they call a dumb bomb, which isn't guided, and you know, still have a great effect. Kill a lot of the enemy if necessary. So the Hornet has a great capability. Also has a 30mm cannon in the nose that holds about 600 rounds, which is really fun to fire.
As fast movers, they have to concentrate on hitting their target at plus or minus 3 seconds. All the while, the pilot is enduring some significant physical stress. This stress is known as the G-force, or gravitational force, which is the measurement of acceleration felt as weight.
We do a thing that's called a Hick maneuver. So when you're in the airplane and you're doing maneuvers, you're putting G-forces on your body, right? So once you get to about 3 and 4 Gs, which is a lot more than you can put up with your car. For example, your body the blood starts to move in different places, heart rate starts to increase, things like that. So you got to train your body now to go from 3 to 4 Gs all the way to 7 Gs. So we'll tighten our leg muscles real hard to try to keep the blood up, and then you breathe in a very specific way. You just get used to it, and it helps you keep your vision, essentially, and keep you from passing out.
All this for one primary mission: support Marines on the ground.
I'd run if I was the enemy. I mean, I'd take cover. That's got to be what they're thinking, because, I mean, we can rain down fire.
From what I heard from some of my infantry friends after coming back from Iraq was, hey, you know, how was it when we were on station compared to when we weren't? Was there a difference? Basically what they all told me is once they can hear the jet noise on station, they don't come out, they don't fight, they go hide. So just imagine if you were 7 foot tall, 400 pounds, and you're fighting kindergartners.
And now these and dozens of other Marine fighter pilots are strapped inside one of the U.S.'s fastest, fiercest, and most lethal combat weapons.
Tower, this is Thermal Actual. Mission accomplished.
Instructors and students of the Navy's VAQ-129 Electronic Attack Squadron participated in training focused on honing their skills on the Navy's newest electronic attack aircraft, the EA-18G Growler, at Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, July 11th through the 22nd.
Dan Colonel Alan Geis, I'm the commander of the 390th Electronic Combat Squadron, which is stationed out in Whidbey Island. And we have airmen that fly the Growler in cooperation with the Navy. So the Air Force and the Navy have been flying together since 1998, initially in the EA-6B, which was just retired last year, and in 2009 they started flying the Growler. So this week we have 129 is running the det out here at Ellsworth, and they've been flying 16 sorties a day in the Powder River Training Complex while they've been here. So we have maintainers and students and instructors all from 129 out here, as well as my 2 airmen. We are training the newest air crew to fly the Growler. So these guys have just come right out of flight training, and this is the first tactical weapon system that they're flying. So this is part of their syllabus to become naval aviators and fly the Growler in the fleet. Additionally, we have second tour airmen who are out here flying. So I have a B-1B Wizzo and an F-18E Strike Eagle Wizzo who are out here learning how to fly the Growler, and they will employ it with the fleet as well.
We brought about 110 sailors, consisting of roughly 44 air crew, and the rest are all enlisted or civilian maintainers. The Ellsworth Air Force Base staff has been generous enough to set us up with both a hangar for our maintainers to use and also spaces for the air crew to do their mission planning and briefing. The phase we are instructing right now sets up the students to learn and be able to employ the jet as an airborne electronic attack aircraft. So the Ellsworth range, the Powder River complex, has certain emitters that allow our aircrew to train effectively and realistically against emerging threats. Our mission as the airborne electronic attack community is to deny, degrade, or delay the enemy's ability to acquire and engage our friendly air forces. So it's very important that our aircrew get the training that they need and the range they need with the proper emitters in order to practice against threats that are out there.
Well, this is the one community that actually takes a look at strategically how to use electronic warfare and ability to, again, get that access into a denied environment. There's really no one else looking at that holistically in a strategic picture the way this community does. And the great thing about coming out here is the Powder River Training Complex, with its size and with its emitters and threat emitters that it can give us, gives a great opportunity for that training.
Reporting from Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota, I'm Airman First Class Teresa Stein.
Vision on the Shield is a field training exercise that NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, does every year, and it's an exercise to bring all the forces together to have a chance to practice our plans and procedures.
It's a homeland defense exercise, and so the scenario is based on defending the homeland. So in this case, it's conducting FTXs, or live fly missions, out of Alaska, Canada, and as well in Greenland. And so the exercise is set up to fly our aircraft against the threat and address the threat as it's presented to us.
So the scenario will start off and it will evolve over the course of a week based on the objectives we've set. And basically what we try to do is look at what we did in the last year. We'll mix it up, we'll change the scenario. Scenarios are typically developed a few years out. And then from there on we'll see the challenges we face, the successes we have, and then we'll build on that and we'll create the scenario so that all the air crews and all the personnel involved, be it in flight, those on the ground, those on the radar sites and whatnot, supporting the exercise, have a chance to go through the whole gamut of training opportunities.
This year, the biggest difference is the scale. So much more units and people participating. The FTX is being conducted in 5 different places around the world, and about 700 total people, so it's quite large.
Well, in Canada we have F-18s as well as tankers, and on the U.S. side F-22s, F-15, F-16s, tankers, AWACS. These are all the assets that we bring together for the sake of exercise. As well, because we are flying over the Arctic and it is austere terrain, we do bring search and rescue assets as well.
We definitely find ourselves working with the United States quite a fair bit. I'd say from the tactical fighter perspective, 3 to 4 times a year, we're working with our U.S. partners, either in the States or they come up to Canada and work with us. And that's a combination of Air Force assets, or air assets if you will, and then folks on the ground as well.
Something like this is important because if we don't practice coming up north to Thule or areas like it, it's easy for both of our militaries to kind of lose a little bit of experience, and there are always lessons learned, and there's minor hiccups here and there, but everything ended up working out in the long run.
The basics of practicing and being proficient at the execution of your business is why we do this. And this is a huge team. And so that team effort and being able to have the team working together as one unit to accomplish our goals and objectives is exactly why we need to practice this.
I think we have world-class personnel in both of our nations that do this. Their heart is in it. They have the good equipment to get the job done, and I think really that's the gem in it. I feel very confident that our personnel are ready to meet the mission and meet those challenges with confidence and ability.
The Swamp Fox are deployed to Naval Air Station Fallon as a part of what they call Air Wing Fallon. And this is a very unique opportunity. It's the first time an Air Force squadron has participated in the workup trials for a carrier air wing in preparation for deployment next year. It's a 5-week graded event for the Navy, and we feel pretty honored because this is the first time a Air Force fighter squadron has been invited to participate during this sort of a exercise. What we're here to do specifically is integrate with naval aviation in a joint suppression of enemy air defense mission. Our participation at Air Wing Fallon with CAG-1 has enabled us to not only work side by side with the Navy, which we've done many times in the past, but actually to truly integrate our tactics, techniques, and procedures. Our experience here at Fallon has been incredible. We've had the opportunity to integrate our folks with naval aviation and really get down to the brass tacks of how do we make this work. We've had some great successes helping them increase their lethality and survivability, which is something that is going to be critical as enemy air defenses have become increasingly more sophisticated over time. We are just scratching the surface of what these two services can do when we work together. Our mission impact, so our guys got in the airplane and they went out and they solidly contributed to the efforts of the carrier air wing and what they were doing. The big thing we brought to the fight that they haven't seen before is reactive seed, which is the bread and butter of what this organization does. CAG Ewald was ecstatic about the results of our integration, and that was only possible because of the efforts of everything you guys were doing.
We're learning a lot about the mission. We're learning how to work together. And again, that effectiveness in combat is going to probably be what we see as success for having done this training together. Well, it gave us insight to the unique mission that obviously the SCANG executes and then brings to the fight. And it gave us the opportunity to learn that, and then for your unit to learn what we do and how we execute our strike missions as a component and how we support the CFAC, again, in those joint combined operations. More importantly, we've probably built some relationships between the pilots, and now we can speak the same language. I'm confident that on day one, if we meet the 157th downrange, that we're going to be successful. We know that we have to do it together. We're going to be better as a nation defending our country and defending what we believe is right, but we do that by knowing what the strengths and weaknesses and how we can best capitalize on those things together. Again, we thank you all for coming, and you've made us better, and hopefully we've shared a little bit of what we do with you. And again, we look forward to doing it again sometime.
Marines with Marine Wing Support Squadron 171 aboard Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni work side by side with the wing to ensure everything runs smooth and efficient. Without the Marines at bulk fuel, the birds couldn't get off the ground. But there's more to filling up aircraft than just plugging in the hose. Before each refill, the maintainers must check the fuel.
It's a lot to it before the plane even comes in. We do about an hour and a half. We have to restart, maintenance, and all that stuff before the plane even comes in, because the fuel's got to be clean and ready to go. We actually pump it from our tanks over here out to the pantograph. We run it, we sample it, we take it back over to our lab, and then we run the samples to make sure it's clean and bright. It can be any jets that comes through. It can be F-16s. We had F-16s go through here, F-18s. We could have Cobras go through here. So we could have a majority of different aircraft come through here. So it's not just for the Navy, it's not just for the Marine Corps. It is for anybody that needs it to go through ops and tell us, hey, we got planes coming in, we'll take care of them.
The bulk fuel hot farm is the final pit stop for the birds where the fuel gets pumped. From there, it's up to the plane captain or other personnel to fill the tank. Then it's safety management to keep anything from going wrong.
But the first thing you got to do is ground it. So you just take a cable connected to the ground. You got to ground it. So you put it into whatever little hole it goes in. It's kind of like plugging like a guitar into an amp. You put it in there first. That keeps friction, like static electricity, from forming, so fuel doesn't spontaneously ignite.
After roughly a 20-minute wait for the tank to fill, the bird is fueled and ready for safe flight. From Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni, Japan, I'm Lance Corporal Corey Schubert.
Well, today we got tasked out to fuel an F-18 jet from the Finnish Air Force. Since we've been here, we've set up 5 FARPs. A few of them within 20 minutes. We set up a whole FARP, got it certified, and began fueling. I'm all about training. I like to teach the soldiers how to do certain tasks. I like to I learn from my soldiers, you know. They teach me, I teach them. We learn from each other, and that's how we get better as a whole.
Being like a new private in the Army, I've learned a lot. I believe I learned a lot more than what I did in school, you know, because going from just paperwork and books to actually doing it here and have my sergeants and everybody teach me, and learning, you know, on hand helps a lot. So being here, I set up my first FARP with my fellow colleagues here, and we did a great job with the time limit that we had, but we got it done. And then just like with this jet coming in, we went over the fuel farm, got fuel, set it up, make sure the fuel was good, and just got it done.
So currently, Echo Company is split up over 4 different countries. Germany is our primary footprint. Of course, we have our footprint here in Lavardi, Latvia. Soon we'll have footprints in Kozluda, Lithuania, and also Tapa, Estonia. I think the biggest accomplishment right now is that we haven't failed any mission. In fact, we've excelled. Being so short-staffed, we've really developed, I think, a small group mentality. We've been able to adapt and overcome to any situation and been able to rise to every mission requirement. For this mission, you have to become creative and adaptive. And so what we've done is we've empowered our junior leaders, especially our junior NCOs, and they've done the best with what they got, and they have excelled at every mission.
The sun is at its highest point during the day, and mechanics with Marine Fighter Attack Squadron 323 are hard at work. On the flight line, They're prepping aircraft for simulated combat operations with the Singapore Air Force during exercise Commando Sling.
We were the training aids for the Singapore F-16s so they could accomplish their mission objectives and provide them airborne targets so they could work through their tactics with. We flew the F-18 Charlie, single-seat version of the Hornet. Its capabilities are multi-mission, air-to-air and air-to-ground role, and today we fought in the air-to-air regime.
Getting airborne only takes a few seconds. However, it can take several hours just for these aircraft to reach the runway.
It starts with maintenance. Those are the guys that get the job done first, get the jets ready. Depending on if something extensive is wrong with the aircraft between flights, it can take up to 2 hours to get a jet ready to go.
Exercise participants also needed to perform personal maintenance checks due to the changing climate.
Coming from Japan and coming here to fight the Singapore Air Force has been a great experience. Great liberty, great friends. We couldn't ask for anything more, except maybe a little bit of air conditioning out here on the flight line.
Reporting for Paya Lebar Air Base in the Republic of Singapore, I'm Lance Corporal Leica Hit.
This is Mount Sarabanchi off our left side and Innovation Beach.
This small Pacific island, accessed only by military aircraft, may look picturesque, but this is no vacation spot. Iwato, formerly known as Iwo Jima and located roughly 750 miles south of the Japanese mainland, is where in 1945 American and Japanese forces battled for control over the island and its vital airfields.
Iwoto is our temporary facility while we await the identification of a permanent facility here in Japan for field carrier landing practice. We've been using it for many years. It gives us an authentic replication of the environment out at the ship. Again, it gives us very good training for our operations in the carrier qualification and then shipboard operations.
More than 70 years later, Iwato and its modern-day airfield provide pilots from Carrier Air Wing 5 an opportunity to practice and perfect launching, landing, and touch-and-go qualifications.
The majority of aircraft you'll see out there with American markings on them will be the Super Hornets from Carrier Air Wing 5. That includes the Echo, Fox, and Golf model, so the fighters and the jammers. They'll be out there again for about 10 days as the squadrons rotate through their training.
Aside from practicing during the day, pilots also train at night as part of their training routine. Pilots practice a total of 3 daytime practices and 3 nighttime practices. This is half the time pilots in the US get to train and qualify due to the high operational tempo of the forward deployed carrier. The squadrons will rotate through training within a 10-day period.
So we maintain both our combat effectiveness for our alliance requirements here in Japan and the theater requirements, and also to do it safely so that we can protect our families and the Japanese people.
Field carrier landing practice is one of the many ways our forward deployed naval force stays mission ready. Reporting from Iwato, Japan, I'm Petty Officer Raymond Diaz.
Saxon Warrior was a chance for us to test interoperability with our NATO and the United Kingdom partners, specifically with the United Kingdom, as they bring the HMS Queen Elizabeth online and reinvigorate their carrier strike program.
As a prime example of the extraordinary friendship between the US Navy and the Royal Navy, I'm about to launch in an F-18 from the George H.W. Bush during exercise Saxon Warrior. We're here conducting multinational exercises in the Northwest approaches, building up the UK capability to command the future Queen Elizabeth carrier strike group.
Saxon Warrior was the icing on the cake of a phenomenal deployment after being gone for 7 months. Now our understanding and our interoperability was strengthened because of this single 10-day exercise.